Hello YouTube, and welcome to another video about the Isle of Man, filmed by my lovely wife who's walking backwards and about to run into a lamppost. There we go. So hello to another video about the Isle of Man. Now I've realized I have covered a lot of topics in these videos until now, and many of you are, I'm just walking just to annoy her basically. So I realized I've done a lot of these videos that tell you what life is like on the Isle of Man and what to expect when you move here. And a lot of you apparently watch them before you move here or while you're thinking about moving here or even after you moved here. Maybe I should add a disclaimer to them at the bottom that if things go pear-shaped after you move here, it's not my fault. But it's still a good place to live, and I've covered a lot of topics. One topic I realized I haven't covered, which is a really big one, is the economy. What do people actually do when they come here? What do we work? How much can you earn? What is all that kind of stuff like? So that's what I want to do with this video. It's just a very quick look at the economy and at one sector in particular as well, which is the one I work in. So I hope it's useful for you. And let's start with some of the basic statistics. Our glorious government, who are at home in the building here behind me, they measure all sorts of statistics and things about the Isle of Man. And the ones that are significant for this video are that we still have around about 85,000 people living here. That's according to the latest census. They have plans to grow it to 100,000. If it's ever going to happen, I don't know. At the moment, it's 85,000. Average age is around 44 years, so we're not that old. And of the 85,000, around 45,000 are economically active. Now, how much do all these economically active people earn? Well, according to the latest statistics, the median gross weekly pay of a full-time employee in the Isle of Man is £673. That's 5.2% more than the UK equivalent. Sounds really good, but that is like comparing apples and pears because obviously taxes are different over there, cost of living is different here. But £673 is not bad as a median income. Now, median salary isn't the same as average salary, of course. So if you do care about the average salary in the Isle of Man, according to the latest income survey, that's £675 per week for a male manual worker, £1,004 per week for a non-manual male worker, so the white-collar lot. Females, £493 a week, and I'm obviously reading that off slightly, and £797 a week for a non-manual female worker. If we combine all that, then males and females, manual workers, the average income per week gross before deductions is $668, and for non-manual office workers or that kind of thing, $895 per week gives us a total of £868 per week gross income across the Isle of Man. So that actually is not too bad, I would say. Now, when we talk about work, we of course also have to talk about unemployment. And the unemployment rate over here is ridiculously low, which is of course a result of the certain employment controls that we have in place. We still have work permits for certain things. It's gotten a lot more relaxed. 20 years ago when I first came here, you needed a work permit for pretty much anything if you weren't born here. Now it's pretty much almost gone. In fact, a lot that are debating in this building over here, they are thinking about getting rid of work permits completely, which is very controversial. You still need them for some jobs, and as a result, our unemployment rate is a ridiculously low 0.5%. And I'm going to read this off because it's too funny. So the latest statistics from August, government unveiled, unemployment has decreased by 8 from the previous month, July 2023. And that's not 8%, that is literally 8 people. That's what it says. So the unemployment figures at the moment, the last ones that we have for August, 0.5% is the unemployment rate. And the total number of unemployed people recorded in August was 237. So unemployment really isn't an issue here because we have employment controls. If you do come here, you usually come here to work. And if you do move here, of course, and you don't have a job, then you can't just claim benefits or housing or anything like that because we have restrictions in place. So as a result of all these things, unemployment is not really an issue here. We do have a minimum wage in the Isle of Man at the moment for anyone over the age of 18. That is £10.75, and we also have a living wage in the Isle of Man that at the moment is £12.01. Now, if you are looking for a job, no matter what the wage, then there are plenty of jobs around. The government says there's around 700 and something jobs in the job centre at the moment. When I checked this morning, and I'm going to put the URL and all the statistics in the description as well, I counted closer to 1,400 jobs. And now you might be wondering, okay, what kind of jobs can I get in the Isle of Man? Well, the ones that you see in the job centre, a lot of them are finance, a lot of them are still hospitality. and a lot of them are non-manual. So that primarily we have a lot of jobs in education, in healthcare. Manxcare is desperately recruiting all over the world. I've helped a few of you guys move here. We have a lot of office jobs. If you're an accountant in finance and banking, it's good times for you. Plenty of jobs going. Not so much on manual labor anymore, because we don't really have much of production or manufacturing over here anymore. Which brings me to the next topic, and that is, of course, what kind of economy do we have? What are the biggest economic drivers in the Isle of Man? And as I just already mentioned, the biggest ones are not manual labor anymore, manufacturing. The biggest drivers really are still banking and finance, insurance, and the one industry that I actually work in my day job, because as much fun as this is, it doesn't pay the rent yet, being a YouTuber, unless more of you like and subscribe. Thank you very much. So I work in what we call eGaming, and in the olden days we simply call that online gambling. Now we call it eGaming or entertainment or iGaming. It's all the same thing. It's licensing and operating casinos, sportsbooks, that kind of thing. And let me tell you a little more about that one. So, eGaming, the activity that a lot of people hear about and few people know what it actually is, contributes around about a quarter to the economy. Now the government says it's around about 70 to 20%. I think it's actually more. So it's at least a quarter, I'd say. And it has been one of the few consistent success stories of our glorious government, because we have been a very respected jurisdiction for Isle of Man, for online gambling licensing here in the Isle of Man for over 20 years now. So what does this e-gaming thing actually mean in the context of the island? Does it mean we have loads of casinos here? Like, are we like Las Vegas or Macau? Are there thousands of people working behind roulette tables and such? No. What the Isle of Man specializes in is online gambling or e-gaming licensing. That means if you start a online gambling company and you want to be seen as legit in a way, then you come to a place like this one. There are different jurisdictions, but we are certainly the flavor of the day at the moment. I'll explain that in a bit. And you come here and you come to a regulator called the Isle of Man Gambling Supervision Commission. Now, they have been around since the 60s, way before online gambling. And when online gambling really took off in the early 2000s, well, end of the 90s, 2000, dot-com boom, that kind of era, someone in government, very wisely, realized, hey, there's an opportunity here. We can license that. We can basically give a stamp of legitimacy to these companies that offer us online gambling. And yeah, it has been a success story for over 20 years. So you go to the GSC, you say, hey, I want to launch my online casino, frankbet.com, something like that. And they go, okay, tell us who you are, tell us where your money's from, we'll make sure you're crime-free, we'll make sure your games are fair, we'll make sure you're a real company, you don't run away, you don't cheat. And we give you a license that basically says, yeah, you're a legit business person with a, online gambling casino. That's what we do. That's at the core, that's all it is. We do online gambling licensing. There aren't big casinos with thousands of employees here. What we do have are quite a few offices now, and they're growing. There's a bit of a second gold rush, that have a lot of lawyers, compliance staff, and admin staff that administer the corporate side, the license side. That's what we focus in, and that's what the government wants. Because we don't have corporation tax or capital gains tax, and we have very low personal taxes, and gambling companies also are charged a very low gambling levy, between 1.5 and goes down to 0.1% of gross gaming revenue. You could think like, how does the government make money? There's no, big taxes here. The government wants well-paid people to come over and work here. They call it bums on seats. They want lawyers, compliance managers, MLOs, people on 5-6 figure salaries to move here, live here, and contribute to the economy, to buy things, buy houses, go shopping, go to restaurants, spend. That's what they want. So that's really the key behind it. Yes, there is a license fee per year. Each of these companies, they do pay a lot. Well, not a lot in the correct context, but they pay something around £36,000 at least every year to the government, and we have over 50 licenses now, so there's a bit of income. But really what they want is they want highly qualified people to move here and work here. And that's what we do, so that is a big, big contributor. In the olden days, we only had the corporate office here, which really for even a huge company, like some of the biggest ones in the world are based here, this could mean literally just a lawyer and a couple of accountants. That was it. These days, we have a tendency to see more and more and more staff come over because the regulations are getting bigger. So you have some of the big Asian companies, especially Asian companies here. And I put the link to the GSC in the description because the companies that are licensed here, they're public. You can look them up. And it's growing. It's a growing list. Many of them are from Asia or targeting Asia. And they are starting to put bigger offices in here and also bring more operational staff, which hasn't really happened in the past that much. One of them actually has a live casino studio here now. It's very unusual. Usually it's just the lawyers. So when you hear eGaming in the context of the Isle of Man, it really means a lot of lawyers and admins and compliance people like me sitting in offices and basically making sure that any company that comes here is legit. And when you have, so there's multiple jurisdictions that give out these licenses, and at the moment the Isle of Man is fortunate that we are, I can truly say that even though I'm biased, the most respected one and the best one. So there is a lot of interest. It's the second gold rush that I mentioned. Because the first one was the .com era, and then it sort of got steady, and there were some jurisdictions where it's easier to get such a license. But that's changed now. Everything's more regulation everywhere, and now they're all coming to us. So we're very, very busy at the moment. It's a great industry to get into if you want to change careers, for example. And if you're interested in getting into eGaming, give me a shout and I'll happily refer you to a number of good headhunters and recruitment guys that I know. Because it's a fascinating industry to get into. If you work into other fields and you want to change careers, there are loads of ways to get into it without prior experience. I started my career 20 years ago. Right down here, I'll show you the house, the old office when we walk down there, as a sports trader. I was the guy who makes the odds. When you place a bet on the footy online, I was the guy behind the screen taking your money and, you know, hopefully trying to make you lose, or trading it in such a way that we at least made a profit. And from there on, I sort of, you know, worked my way up and in the end set up a couple of operations here. And now I work for a local law firm and compliance firm in helping people get licensed. And that's really a quarter of the Isle of Man's economy at the moment, is helping gambling firms be legit, in a nutshell. The government realizes that that is risky to put all your eggs in one basket, or many of your eggs, and they are looking at diversifying. So we're now doing cannabis legalization, not legalization, that'd be awesome. No, we're not that far. Cannabis licensing, which is the same regulator for medical purposes. You're still not allowed to smoke here, but you're allowed to grow it and export it if you have a license. They're trying to attract all sorts of other tech companies, but really eGaming and gambling is the biggest contributor. It's a great industry to get into. If you want to, give me a shout. It is controversial, I realize that. Can be harmful, but the rules here are quite strict. And it is indeed one of the big success stories. So I have to say to our government, well done on that one, and long may it continue. Finally, to wrap this thing up, while we walk around lovely Douglas Head here on a sunny, what is it? Is it still October? Yeah, it's still October. It's much colder than it looks, trust me. So, to wrap this up, quick word about cost of living. Yes, the cost of living crisis has also hit us. It certainly hasn't spared the Isle of Man. Everything has gotten a lot more expensive, especially, I'll put the stats and the link to the government stats in the description. Especially food and drink has gone up drastically over the last year. At least, 30-40% thereabouts. We certainly feel it when we go shopping every week. The bill is going up. So while you can still lead a good life here and earn quite well, especially in eGaming, the industry pays pretty well. It's not getting cheaper. So do expect that if you want to live a decent lifestyle here, and I know a lot of you watch this because you're thinking of moving here, what would you say? You need at least £1,000 for a decent place to live. That's just for rent. If you're not buying, then you need utilities, a couple of £100 a month. Fuel isn't getting any cheaper. So if you drive diesel or petrol, it's £1 something per litre. And it's all short distance, so your car will use a lot of fuel. So yeah, it's not getting cheaper. So when you move here, keep that in mind. I do have a Facebook group for Isle of Man cost of living, which I'm going to try and use more. Again, I'm going to link to it in the description. And yeah, so if you move here, just make sure you have enough to, live decently. Because if you do move here, as I mentioned before, you may not be eligible for any kind of benefits. So things are pear-shaped, the help that you can get from government may be very limited to non-existent. Keep that in mind when you move here. It's very, very important. But other than that, it's still a great place to live. It's got almost no unemployment. And yeah, if you have any questions, you got my email, so always happy to chat. See you later.